This is BBC News. We're interrupting our schedules for the following announcement. Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. A statement from the palace said, "The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow." This is BBC News. Normal programmes have been suspended because of the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. A statement issued by Buckingham Palace a few minutes ago said, "The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow."
Thank you, Chris. You're listening to BBC News, broadcasting on the UK across all our networks in the UK and around the world following the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. This is Michelle Hussein with Evan Davis here in the studio. And if you're just joining us, Buckingham Palace has just announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Palace's statement said that the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort, they said, will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. So that's the news that we had just in the last few minutes after several hours of reporting the public statements earlier in the day about the health of the Queen, that Buckingham Palace had said that her doctors were concerned. And then we knew in the last few hours that members of her family, all four of her children and Prince William, her grandson, the Duke of Cambridge, had all travelled to be with her at Balmoral, and that is where they were before this announcement was made. Well, our royal correspondent, Johnny Diamond, has been covering this throughout. Balmoral is a place that was special to her, Johnny.
It was special to her. It was a place of enormous peace and tranquility to the Queen, a place where she spent all her summers, long summers there, a place of privacy, a place of family, and a remote place as well for a woman who spent her life in the public eye as really no other figure of the 20th and 21st century has done. And with this 26-word statement, this briefest of statements from Buckingham Palace, an era has come to a close.
Indeed, Johnny, the royal family's official website carries the message Queen Elizabeth II, 1926 to 2022, along with that official statement that we've been giving you.
It's not just a life that has come to a close, Evan. It is an era and also a way of life, because a life of service has come to an end. A life, it should be said, that the Queen was not actually born to. She was not born to succeed to the throne, and she did not choose to either. But at 25 years old, it came to her, and she gave her life to it in a way that is perhaps inconceivable to any except those who lived through the war that forged her sense of service. We'll hear the word service and duty many times in the next few hours and days, but she was the exemplar of service. And with her passing, we will not see that kind of sacrifice, that sense of service again.
People will be absorbing this news, of course, in this country, right across this country, and indeed in many other parts of the world as well. It's a long, long life. She was 96 years old. It's an extraordinary dedication to duty over the course of that entire reign. And even several of her prime ministers were born after the beginning of her reign. So for most people in this country, this will be the only monarch that they've ever known.
Yes, I mean, for most people in this country, and of course, as you mentioned, Michelle, for many people in the countries over which she is their monarch as well, or I should say, was their monarch. She was Queen of Australia, of Canada, of New Zealand. They had her too, and it was service to them that she gave as well. And there will be equal sense of shock and mourning and surprise and disappointment at her passing.
Well, just to say, you were listening to BBC News, a special programme on the announcement of the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Let's hear a little bit of her own voice now. She acceded to the throne February 1952. She became, obviously, Britain's longest reigning monarch in September 2015, that was. And in 2022, this year, she marked 70 years on the throne, a symbol of stability and continuity in a world that has changed much, and her life, of course, underpinned by devotion to duty, fulfilling a promise she made on her 21st birthday in 1947.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family, to which we all belong.
In 1947, Princess Elizabeth married Philip, Prince of Greece, who would remain her consort and a source of support for the rest of his life. It was fewer than 5 years after her wedding that her father, King George VI, died. The Queen's coronation in June 1953 was memorably the first to be broadcast on television. It drew an audience of millions.
God crown you with a crown of glory and righteousness, that having a right faith and manifold fruit of good works, you may obtain the crown of an everlasting kingdom by the gift of him whose kingdom endureth forever. Amen.
Well, until 2021, of course, the Queen had Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, by her side, her husband of 73 years. And of course, at their golden wedding anniversary in 1997, she made clear how grateful she was for his long-lasting support.
He has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years, and I and his whole family owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim or we shall ever know.
At moments of national crisis throughout her long reign, the Queen offered words of unity and hope to the nation, most recently in her broadcast during the coronavirus lockdown in 2020.
We should take comfort that while we may have more still to endure, better days will return. We will be with our friends again. We will be with our families again. We will meet again.
2020. And then, of course, in June 2022, the Queen reached her Platinum Jubilee. In the celebrations, Prince Charles spoke of her long years of service as photographs of the Queen lit the walls of Buckingham Palace behind him.
Your Majesty, Mummy, you have met us and talked with us. You laugh and cry with us. And most importantly, you have been there for us for these 70 years. You pledged to serve your whole life. You continue to deliver. That is why we are here. That is what we celebrate tonight. These pictures on your house are the story of your life and ours. So, Your Majesty, that is why we all say thank you.
A moment from the Platinum Jubilee celebrations only a few months ago, and we are expecting a written statement from the King, as he now is, very soon. We've also seen the lectern appear in Downing Street, so we are expecting to hear the Prime Minister speak, and we will go to that live as soon as she does. But Robert